It is an oft-forgotten truth that the most singular of my friend's adventures did not always arrive upon his desk by telegram or through some noble client at the door. Frequently, they entered our lives by the oddest of chances, like trifles dropped in the gutter, which to ordinary eyes would seem beneath consideration. It was one such trifle, in the form of a goose and an old hat, that ushered in the affair of the blue carbuncle. The morning was bitterly cold. Snow lay upon the streets of London, and the fog of December clung to the lamps like a shroud. I had determined, after a quiet breakfast at my Kensington lodging, to call upon my old companion and wish him the compliments of the season. I confess, too, that I had a desire to see what strange humor possessed him, for when Sherlock Holmes passed his time in idleness, he was a sore trial to himself and to his friends. Arriving at Baker Street, I found him, as so often before, lounging in his dressing gown, with a pipe curling blue smoke above his head and eyes fixed in contemplative absorption upon some object of study. But what object? Not the lens and retort of chemistry, nor the revolver which he deemed with military precision, but a broken old hat, weather-stained and battered beyond polite use. Beside it, most curiously, lay a large Christmas goose upon a tray. "My dear Holmes," said I, placing my gloves upon the mantel, "what mischief is this? I had thought to find you deep in monograph or experiment, yet you sit gazing at a hat as though it were the crown of England."
Not mischief, Watson, knowledge, replied he, lifting the object with a delicate forefinger. To your unpractised eye, it is but an old felt hat. To mine, it is a record of its owner's character, habits, fortune, and misfortune. Every crease tells a story. Every stain is a word upon a page. It is, if you like, a novel written in felt.
I laughed. Come, Holmes, you cannot pretend you can deduce more than that. Some poor fellow has lost both supper and headgear upon a frosty night.
On the contrary, he said, with that quiet confidence I had come to know so well. Pie-head, this hat is full of suggestion. Observe the size, Watson. Large, very large. Its owner is a man of considerable brain. And yet, see the discolored lining, the frayed edges. He has fallen on evil days, though once of good station. There is dust here, but no polish. He does not brush it as once he did, yet he tries to maintain appearances. A moral man, striving against adversity.
Really, Holmes, this is too much. You speak as though you had lived a year with the fellow.
It is elementary. Note again, the hat has a loop for securing a strap, but the strap is missing. Careless. Yet the brim is not torn, so he is not a man of violence. There are the faintest traces of hair oil. He has tried to dress respectably for some occasion, though not lately, for the oil is stale. His wife no longer attends to him, else she would keep him better groomed. Hence, domestic separation. From all this, I picture a once prosperous man, fallen into hard times, self-respecting still, but slackening under misfortune.
Holmes, you astound me. If all this be true, the man is half revealed to us already. But what of the goose? Surely that cannot speak.
The goose speaks less clearly, but speaks none the less, Holmes said, touching its breast. It was fattened in the country and sent up to town for the holiday. Our friend Peterson, the commissioner, acquired both bird and hat last night when some roughs set upon the fellow in Tottenham Court Road. The man defended himself, dropped his goose, lost his hat, and fled. Peterson, being honest, brought both here.
Very commendable of him, yet hardly the stuff of an investigation worthy of your talents.
Holmes leaned back, pipe smoke wreathed about his sharp profile. My dear Watson, you miss the spot. Here we have a fragment of a life, and from it we may reconstruct the whole. Even if the case leads us no further than the kitchen, it will amuse my powers of deduction.
He chuckled, and I could not but join in his humour, though I felt that my friend was wasting himself upon trifles. Still, I had learnt never to doubt his instinct, for more than once had an apparently trivial circumstance unfolded into the gravest of crimes. We were yet speaking when the door opened and Peterson himself appeared, a stout, honest fellow, his face aglow with excitement. He carried under his arm the very goose which had lain upon the tray but now gutted and plucked.
Beg pardon, Mr. Holmes, but look here, sir. When my wife was cleaning the goose for roasting, she found this inside the crop.
From his pocket, he drew a small leather case, and from the case, a glittering stone of such deep blue that it seemed to hold the light of heaven within its facets. Even I, no expert in gems, could not mistake its worth. Holmes uttered a cry of satisfaction and held the jewel up to the window where the winter sunlight broke it into 1,000 fires.
By the Lord Peterson, you have stumbled upon the adventure of the season. This is the blue carbuncle itself.
The blue carbuncle? I exclaimed. Surely not the very gem which was stolen from the Countess of Morcar's hotel suite last week? It was in every paper. King of Cat?
The same, Watson. The most precious stone in Europe, valued at more than £2,000. A gem with a history written in blood and lust. And now, mirabile dictu, it turns up inside the crop of a Christmas goose left upon my hearth.
What are we to do, sir? It is no trifle to hold such a treasure.
Do, my good fellow, we shall restore it to its rightful owner. But the delicious question is how it passed from a lady's jewel case into the stomach of your goose. That is the chain of reasoning which we must now unravel.
Holmes, said I, at last I see the worth of your hat and goose. This promises to be a case indeed.
Holmes's eyes gleamed. Yes, Watson, a case worthy of our best efforts. The adventure of the blue carbuncle has begun.
And so, from a frosty street fight, a broken hat, and an ordinary goose, there opened before us a tale as strange as any in the chronicles of Baker Street. The sight of that remarkable stone glittering upon Holmes's palm changed the whole complexion of the affair. What had seemed a trivial curiosity. The battered hat, the abandoned goose was suddenly revealed as the key to a crime which had shaken all of London. I confess my heart quickened, for though I am a man of medicine, not prone to superstition, it felt as though fate herself had placed the blue carbuncle in our very rooms, demanding explanation. Holmes rose from his chair with the air of a general setting troops upon the march. He paced before the fire, the jewels still twinkling between finger and thumb, while Peterson stood dumbfounded.
Peterson, you have acted with admirable honesty. You will take this stone at once to Scotland Yard and hand it over with a statement of how it came into your possession. But stay, you shall first leave the goose. It is no longer of service to me, and your family shall enjoy it for supper. As for the hat, I shall keep it for the present.
Very good, sir. But what of the man who dropped them? Ought we not to advertise?
Patience, my good fellow. We shall trace the true owner soon enough. Leave that part to me.
Peterson bowed and withdrew, clutching the goose, his expression a mixture of bewilderment and pride. When the door had closed, Holmes tossed the gem lightly into the air and caught it again with the dexterity of a juggler.
There lies our problem, Watson. How did the blue carbuncle find its way from the Countess of Morcar's jewel case into the throat of a Christmas goose? It was stolen, you recall, from her hotel suite at the Cosmopolitan. A plumber named John Horner was arrested on suspicion, for he had been working in the room. But the case against him is weak, resting chiefly on the word of the Countess's maid. The gem was not found in his possession. He lies now in gaol, protesting innocence.
Then the matter is not so settled as the papers would have us believe?
Far from it. Horner is an ill-starred creature, with a record for petty theft, yet I cannot believe he engineered so daring a robbery. No, Watson, the truth is subtler. As always, we must follow the trail of the goose. For, mark you, the bird is not a common fowl, but one brought specially from a club. The Alpha Inn, to be precise. Peterson's man heard the fellow who lost it say so during the scuffle.
The Alpha Inn. Then by tracing the supply of geese to that establishment, we may reach the mysterious owner?
Precisely. You see the game, Watson? From the Alpha we trace the supplier, from the supplier the breeder, and till at last we reach the source. And somewhere along that path we shall meet the man who placed a priceless stone into the crop of a Christmas goose. That, my dear friend, is a man I intend to know.
I could not restrain a laugh of admiration at the audacity of the plan. Holmes, with his usual energy, donned his coat and muffler. Holmes, surely you do not mean to set forth immediately? The streets are thick with snow, and you have not yet breakfasted.
My breakfast can wait. Adventure is the best stimulant. Come, Watson, your company is essential. I have always said you are the whetstone upon which I sharpen my deductions.
Flattered, I wrapped myself in my own heavy greatcoat and we sallied forth into the biting wind. The Alpha Inn stood in Bloomsbury, a respectable public house, frequented by tradesmen and clerks. Within it was warm with firelight and the smell of ale. Behind the bar stood a portly landlord who regarded Holmes with surprise as he strode in with his usual directness.
You supply geese to your members at this season?
That's right, sir. Each man may take his bird for Christmas.
Excellent. Could you oblige me by telling me to whom this particular goose belonged?
Well, now, that would be Mr. Henry Baker, tall gentleman, thin, red nose, wore a tattered hat. He took his goose, but from what I hear, lost it in a scuffle outside. A shame, too!
Indeed. And do you have Mr. Baker's address?
I'm afraid not. He's but a casual member, but he'll be back, no doubt, for his ale. Why do you ask?
Merely to restore his property. Thank you, my good sir. You have rendered me a service.
So, back upon the snowy street, Holmes's eyes gleamed with triumph.
You perceive, Watson, we now hold the thread. The hat, the goose, the landlord's description all point to one Henry Baker. We must advertise his discovery in the evening papers. Should he present himself, we shall test the truth of my deductions.
But if he be innocent, Holmes, what danger to him in coming forward?
None whatever. If guilty, he will never appear. That, too, will tell us much. Either way, we advance.
Thus resolved, we returned to Baker Street, where Holmes composed a notice for the evening editions, offering that the finder of a lost goose and hat might recover them by applying to 211B. The day passed in anxious expectation. I confess I spent the hours in speculation, turning over Holmes's deductions in my mind. Evening fell, lamps were lit, and at last a timid ring echoed upon the stair. Holmes sprang to his feet.
A fish bites, Watson. Let us see what manner of man Henry Baker may be.
In shuffled a tall, thin fellow, his nose red from drink, his clothes threadbare yet respectable. He bowed with nervous dignity. Woo!
Good evening, gentlemen. I believe you have advertised concerning a goose and a hat. I am the unfortunate owner.
Pray be seated, Mr. Baker. Here is your hat, somewhat the worse for its adventures. And as for the goose, I regret to say it has already been consumed.
Eaten, sir? Then what remains for me?
Fear not. We are men of honor. Permit me to offer you another bird of equal weight and quality.
Why, sir, you overwhelm me. I thank you most sincerely.
One question only. Did you purchase the goose yourself?
No, sir. It was given through the Alpha Inn. Each year, they distribute geese among members, and this was mine. Beyond that, I know nothing.
I see. Then you are satisfied?
Entirely. You have been most generous.
With another bow, the poor fellow departed, bearing his replacement goose under his arm. Holmes watched him go with an expression of keen amusement. Then he is innocent?
Clearly, he knew nothing of the jewel. His gratitude was genuine. The carbuncle passed through his hands by accident. Oh! Our task now is to trace it further back to the supplier of the Alpha's geese.
Holmes consulted his notes, then seized hat and coat once more.
Come, Watson, the chase grows hot. We must find this supplier, or the blue carbuncle may vanish once more into the shadows of London.
And so, into the frosty night we plunged again, little knowing that the path of the goose would lead us deeper into the dens of crime than either of us expected. If part 1 of this adventure was remarkable for its trifling beginnings and part 2 for its sudden leap into significance, then part 3 may be said to contain the very marrow of pursuit. For here we followed the trail of the goose step by step through the labyrinthine commerce of London until we came face to face with the heart of the riddle. After dismissing poor Henry Baker, Holmes wasted no time. His eyes glittered with that peculiar excitement which I had seen only when the game was afoot. He took down his notebook, scribbled the name of the Alpha Inn supplier, and declared our next port of call.
The Alpha Inn received their geese from one Breckenridge, a poulterer in Covent Garden, a man of brusque manner but extensive trade. If the birds did not originate with him, he can direct us further. Come, Watson, there is not an hour to be lost.
Holmes, you drive us like sleuth hounds. But do you truly expect a porterer to recall the source of a single goose amid so many?
You forget, my dear fellow, that this is not any goose but one of a particular batch, Stratton for the holiday trade. In such cases, the chain of custody is short and distinct. It is a matter of following the thread backward until it reaches the spindle.
We set off at once, and soon the rattle of handsome wheels carried us into the heart of Covent Garden. The market was alive with cries of traders, the smell of straw and poultry, and the chatter of buyers haggling beneath the flickering gas lamps. Amidst the din stood Breckenridge's stall, piled high with birds and game, the man himself a red-faced fellow with sleeves rolled high.
Good evening, Mr. Breckenridge. I understand you supplied geese to the Alpha Inn.
That's right, sir. What of it? If it's a complaint about the quality, you'll find none better in the market.
No complaint, but curiosity. Could you inform me from whom you purchased those geese?
Now look here, sir. That's my business. Do you take me for a gossiping old woman? I sell to whom I please, and from whom I please, and I'll not be pestered by busybodies.
Come, my good man, it is of no consequence to you. My friend only wishes to trace a bird to its source.
Then he may trace it elsewhere, for I'll not tell him a word. I've had enough of inquisitive fellows sniffing about my geese all day. First a tall chap in a flat cap, now you two. What's in those birds, eh? Gold sovereigns?
Something of greater value, perhaps, said Holmes softly.
But Breckenridge folded his arms obstinately, and no amount of persuasion would loosen his tongue. No! Holmes regarded him with a twinkle, then suddenly proposed a wager on the weight of one of the birds. Poulterer, whose pride was touched, entered eagerly into the bet. Holmes lost intentionally, paying the man a sovereign. This act mollified him considerably.
Now, Breckenridge, said Holmes, pocketing his empty purse, I have been fairly beaten, and I hold no grudge. But tell me, who has been asking you questions about those geese?
A rough fellow, name of Ryder, works at the Hotel Cosmopolitan. He came prying about not 2 hours ago, wanting to know who bought a certain bird. When I wouldn't say, he grew hot under the collar. That's all I know, and enough too.
Ryder, you say? Excellent. And these geese, where did you obtain them originally?
From a dealer named Mrs. Oakshott down by Brixton. She rears birds, and I take her stock every year.
You have been most helpful, Mr. Breckenridge. I thank you for your candor.
We withdrew, Holmes smiling at my bewildered expression. Holmes, who is this Ryder, and what interest can a hotel commissioner have in geese?
My dear Watson, you forget your newspapers. Ryder is head attendant at the Cosmopolitan, the very hotel where the blue carbuncle was stolen. If he is sniffing after geese, I should wager a month's pension. He knows more of the jewel than he has yet confessed.
Then we are closing upon our quarry.
Step by step, from the Alpha to Breckenridge, from Breckenridge to Oakshott, from Oakshott to Ryder. The line tightens like a snare. Come, Watson, we must see this. Mrs. Oakshott at once.
It was a long, cold drive to Brixton, the snow whirling about our cab like a host of phantom riders. When at last we reached the humble dwelling of Mrs. Oakshott, we found the shutters closed, and no one within save a maid who informed us that her mistress was absent. Disappointed, Holmes left a note, and we turned back toward Baker Street. We had scarcely arrived, however, when our landlady ushered in a man whose agitation was plain. He was tall, sharp, featured, with restless eyes and trembling hands. Holmes glanced at me, and I saw the spark of recognition leap in his face.
Ah, Mr. Ryder, I believe you come upon business connected with a goose?
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. I heard you had advertised concerning one. I wish to inquire.
Compose yourself, sir. Be seated. You are head attendant at the Cosmopolitan, I think.
That's right, sir.
And your interest in geese is not entirely professional?
Well, it was my sister who bred the birds, Mrs. Oakshott of Brixton. One of them, a fine white goose, came into your hands by chance. I would be most obliged if you could return it to me, for it was not mine to give.
Alas, my dear Ryder, that goose has already been eaten.
Eaten? Then all is lost.
His cry was so full of despair that I started from my chair. Holmes, however, remained composed, his eyes fixed like steel upon the trembling man.
Not all, Ryder. The stone you placed within it is safe.
At these words, the man leapt from his seat, his face blanched to the color of ashes, and he staggered as though struck.
Stone? You know, then, you have it?
Yes, the blue carbuncle is recovered. The only question is, what am I to do with you, James Ryder?
And so the net drew tight, and the mystery of Goose and Jewel stood revealed in terrible clarity. The trembling figure of James Ryder stood before us, his lips quivering, his gaze darting from Holmes's calm face to mine as though searching for mercy. The secret of the blue carbuncle had been dragged from its hiding place at last, and we were now to hear the tale of villainy that had so strangely intersected with a Christmas goose.
Compose yourself, Ryder, Holmes said with quiet authority. You are in the presence of friends, if you choose to act wisely. But conceal nothing, for I know too much already.
You know everything, sir, he stammered. He stammered.
Enough to hang you, if I chose to hand you over. But it is my practice to hear a man's own account before judgment. Sit down there, upon the chair by the fire, and tell us truly how the blue carbuncle came into your possession.
Ryder collapsed into the chair, burying his face in his hands. His shoulders shook as if he would weep. At length he spoke, in a broken voice.
It was greed, sir, nothing but greed. I had long been tempted by the stone, hearing it was worth thousands. Actually, Catherine Cossack, the maid to the countess, whispered to me that the jewel lay in her mistress's jewel case, and that the countess was careless of her keys. We found a wicked plan. I was to steal it, and together we would profit. I swear to you, sir, I had never done a thing so bold before.
Yet you did it, Ryder. Tell us how.
On the night of the robbery, one of the plumber was sent to repair the grate in the countess's room. Catherine and I contrived it so that suspicion should fall upon him. While he worked, I slipped into the chamber on some pretence, opened the case, and pocketed the stone. Then I raised a cry. Catherine supported me, and the poor fellow was accused. Oh, sir, I never thought it would go so far as prison for him.
You miserable wretch, I exclaimed. The man lies now in gaol, his character ruined all through your villainy.
Peace, Watson. Let him tell the whole. And what then, Ryder?
I hid the stone, but I feared the police would search me. I knew not where to hide it. In my terror, I fled to my sister's house, Mrs. Oakshott in Brixton. She breeds geese for the market. An idea struck me mad, desperate. I forced open the crop of one fine bird and thrust the stone inside. I thought to recover it later, when suspicion had abated.
And thus the goose became the hiding place of a gem worth a kingdom. Ingenious, yet foolish. Continue.
I marked the bird with a small tag so I should know it again. But alas, in the confusion of sending them to Breckenridge's store, my goose was mixed with the rest. I begged him, paid him, threatened him to tell me where it went. He refused. Now you say it has been eaten.
Eaten, yes, but not before its secret was discovered. Your clever stratagem betrayed you, Ryder.
At this the man broke into sobs, wringing his hands like a child.
Oh, sir, have pity on me. If I go to prison, it will be my ruin. I shall never hold up my head again. My father would die of shame. Spare me this once, and I swear on my soul I shall never err again.
I confess my own heart softened at the pitiful sight. At the pitiful sight! Here was no hardened criminal, but a weak man driven by temptation, now crumbling beneath its weight. Yet justice, I felt, must be served. Holmes, surely this man deserves the law. What of poor Horner, languishing in gaol?
Ah, Watson, there you touch the kernel of the matter, said Holmes gravely. It is one thing to pity a trembling coward, but another to let an innocent man suffer in his place. Reader, do you realize that by your falsehood another man stands upon the brink of ruin?
I know, sir, I know. I shall go to the police, confess all. Only do not drag me there like a thief in the night. Give me a chance to make it right.
Would you indeed confess if I left you free? Or would you slink away and let Horner rot while you sought safety abroad?
No, sir, by heaven I swear I will confess.
Holmes regarded him long, his face inscrutable. The only sound was the crackle of the fire and Ryder's stifled sobs. At last Holmes turned to me.
What say you, Watson? Shall we hand him to the law or trust to his conscience?
I hesitated, torn between indignation and pity. Holmes, he's weak rather than wicked. Yet if we let him go, justice is mocked. Still, I cannot bring myself to demand the gaol for him. Perhaps mercy may do more than punishment in such a case. So, Holmes nodded slowly. We go!
So be it. Ryder, you are free. The stone is restored. I shall see that Horner's case is reconsidered and the truth revealed in such a manner as to exonerate him without dragging your name before the world. But mark me well, if ever you stray again, I shall not lift a finger to save you.
Oh, sir, you are an angel. I shall mend my ways. I shall indeed.
With a cry half of gratitude, half of terror, the man fled from the room, leaving us in silence. Holmes, do you think it wise to let him go? What if he offends again?
I think not, Watson. That trembling creature is not made for a life of crime. Prison would harden him, but freedom may reform him. Besides, he smiled faintly, Christmas is a season of forgiveness.
I gazed at him with admiration, as I had done so often before, for on his cold reason, Sherlock Holmes possessed a heart not untouched by human kindness. And so, while the snow still lay upon London streets, the adventure of the Blue Carbuncle drew toward its end, leaving me with thoughts upon crime, justice, and mercy which no medical textbook could ever have taught. Thus ended the most curious of cases, brought to us not by client or constable, but by the chance abandonment of a goose and a battered old hat. As Ryder's footsteps faded upon the stairs, silence fell over the sitting room of Baker Street. The fire burned low, and the shadows flickered across Holmes's thoughtful face. As so, I sat opposite him, turning the matter over in my mind. Holmes, said I at last, you astonish me. I had thought your duty was always to the law, yet you have let a criminal slip through your fingers.
Not always to the law, Watson, he replied, knocking the ash from his pipe. The law is a blunt instrument, and sometimes justice lies in a gentler hand. Ryder is not a hardened villain, but a weak man who stumbled. To send him to gaol would serve neither society nor his soul. He will never forget the terror of this night.
But what of John Horner, the plumber? Will he remain accused?
I shall see to it that the charge collapses. Without Ryder's testimony, the case against him cannot stand. The Countess will regain her stone, and the innocent man will go free. That is enough.
Yet the Countess herself will never know how near she came to losing her jewel forever.
The great public seldom does know how close it comes to disaster, Watson. Watson! Our task is not to trumpet our victories, but to ensure that truth is served, whether in silence or acclaim.
He rose and stretched, casting aside his dressing gown for a warmer coat.
Now, my dear fellow, I believe we have earned a glass of hot punch and perhaps a pipe before bed. Let us not allow the affairs of rogues to spoil the remainder of Christmas.
We sat together then, speaking of lighter things, though my mind still lingered upon the strange chain of events which had brought the Blue Carbuncle to our heart. A scuffle in the street, an honest commissioner, a goose, no more than a bird for roasting, and yet within its breast lay a stone for which men would lie, tossing and ruin their lives. Such, I reflected, is the caprice of fortune, that treasures and tragedies may lie hidden in the most humble of places. Holmes, perceiving my thoughts, smiled across the lamplight.
You see, Watson, why I say there is no such thing as a trifle. Every incident, however small, may be the starting point of truth. The world is full of sermons in stones and stories, in hats and geese, if one only learns to read them.
You are right, Holmes, I replied. Once again, you have shown me how the extraordinary hides within the ordinary. I shall never look upon a Christmas goose in quite the same way.
Not upon a blue carbuncle, I trust, he said with a chuckle.
Outside, the bells of London chimed the hour. See, beyond the frosted panes, the city lay hushed beneath its cloak of snow, carriages muffled, lamps glowing like faint stars in the fog. Within, the fire burned bright, and the strange jewel gleamed once more upon the table before being consigned to the safekeeping of Scotland Yard. Thus was concluded the adventure of the Blue Carbuncle. It remains in my memory not for the brilliance of Holmes's deductions, though they were, as ever, remarkable, nor even for the oddity of a priceless stone hidden within a Christmas goose. No, it endures because of the lesson my friend imparted that night, that mercy can be as just as punishment, and that even the keenest of reasoners may temper logic with compassion. And in all the years I have known Sherlock Holmes, I have seldom seen him more human than when he dismissed James Ryder with nothing but a warning, and though I protested, in my heart I knew he had chosen the better course. For the season was Christmas, never wasm, and if ever there was a time when forgiveness should prevail over vengeance, it was then. So ends my account of the singular case, which began in laughter over a battered old hat and ended with a glittering stone, a trembling thief, and the quiet triumph of mercy in the heart of Sherlock Holmes,